Now let me just explain what is zone protection and what is DOS protection, guys. Okay. So the thing is, first of all, this zone protection we will apply at the zone level, at the zones. Okay. DOS protection we will basically apply at the security policy level. Okay. And if I'll talk about the packet flow of this Palo Alto firewall, so what I can do, let me just open one of the packet flow file. Let's open this one. So you will get the idea here. Okay. If you see in this particular place, if you see your connection setup state, right? So when packet reaches to your connection setup state, first of all, what it will match with your zone protection profile. First, your zone protection profile will match, then this packet go for your forwarding, or we can say routing lookup. After that, your packet go for the net lookup. After that, your packet go for the policy lookup, or this your security policy lookup. And after that, when security lookup has been completed, now your packet go for the DOS protection rules. So the thing is, first of all, you have to remember, like if you are having zone protection profile, then zone protection is always match first, and DOS protection profile is matched last after your security policy match happens. And also, so sometimes like in interview they will ask who will consume, who will which, like zone protection or DOS protection, which is the resource intensive. So you can say DOS protection is a resource intensive, because zone protection and DOS protection, they will do the same job. They will basically protect you from different kind of attacks, like SYN flood attack, ICMP flood attack, UDP flood attack, host scan attack, TCP path symmetry attack. These kind of different kind of attacks is protected by both of them. So the thing is, job of both of them is similar, but the thing is, because when those protection profile match happens, so to reach this particular match, your packet will go through your routing engine, then net engine, then security policy engine, then your DOS protection engine will come, or dot protection rules will come, right? If you are having zone protection profile, because zone protection profile hit here and it will block the packet here, right? So it zone protection is a less CPU intensive job, but DOS protection is a more CPU intensive job. Okay, that's the major difference between both of them. Now, if you want to configure zone protection, in that case, what you have to go to into your network tab, into network profiles, and you will see zone protection profile. Right here, you have to create your zone protection profile, give the name outside, because let's suppose I want to apply my zone protection point outside interface, right? Outside, then I'll give some discussion. If you see here, it will protect us from the flood protection, recurrence at protection, packet based attack protection, and protocol protection. These kind of four type of protection it will provide actually. So if I'll see in, so in flood protection, if we will see SYN flood attack, right? In SYN flood attack, it will protect us from the SYN flood attack. And in SYN flood attack, we will basically have a two actions. Action is randomly drop and SYN cookies, right? In SYN cookies, basically when we set this particular action is SYN cookies, what happens? In that case, my firewall is act as a man in the middle. So whenever any request, let's say we are having client machine, we are having Palo Alto Firewall, we are having server machine, right? When this client and server do the TCP three-way handshake, right? So in that case, my Palo Alto Firewall hijack this particular SYN packet or this TCP three-way handshake packets, and so that this PC establishes a TCP three-way handshake with this Palo Alto, and on the basis of this PC, my Palo Alto establishes the TCP three-way handshake with this particular server. And if we've set the action SYN cookies, which means my Palo Alto firewall only drop the packet. So for them, TCP three-way handshake will not complete. So there are few packets, right? Let's say someone have learned the SYN flood attack. In that case, he will he will send you so many SYN messages. Okay, So if your firewall detect these kind of things, in that case it will drop these particular SYN request. Okay, so this is the like action of SYN cookies. In random early drop, what happens? We have to set three values. Alarm rate means if our system is received 10,000 connection per second from outside or inside, right? Let's suppose in and zone, right? From out in and outside zone. Let's say on this outside zone we are having two interfaces, Ethernet 1/2. In both these interfaces or on outside zone, if we have received like 10,000 connection per second or 10,000 session per second, in that case, my when that connection count become like 10,000 per second, in that case it will generate the alert message. So generally, when we configure these values, we have to take care generally if our firewall is supported maybe 100 sessions, right? In that case, we always select like we will select this alarm threshold between 15 to 20% value. So we have to select, let's say 100. In case of 100 session means if connection count is around 20, in that case just generate the alert, right? So this is how we will basically set this value, but default is 10,000. Activate connection per second. So the thing is, when the connection count become 10,000, in that case it will basically activate, zone protection is activated, and when this connection count is between 10,000 and the maximum value which is 40,000, in that case what it will do, it will start dropping the packet randomly. It will start dropping the packet randomly because it is using random early drop. So it will start dropping the packet randomly. But when the connection count become more than 40,000, in that case what it will drop all the connections. So this is how your random early drop will work, guys. Okay, now we do have a like ICMP flood. So ICMP flood is also works on the basis of random early drop. Other IP is also works on the basis of random early drop. UDP flood attack is also works on the basis of random early drop. And ICMP V6, right? So if ICMP echo, in case of ICMP, we have a ICMP echo request, right? If ICMP echo request count become 10,000, more than 10,000 per second, that case, this particular zone protection profile basically activated and it will start dropping the packets. Same with the other IP packets. Same with the UDP packets. If we have a like UDP packets counts more than 10,000 per second, in that case will start dropping the UDP packets, guys. Another thing in this one is your recurrence protection. Now here we will have a three method, right? TCP port scan, host sweep, and UDP port scan. Means if someone is trying to scan your port numbers, if someone is trying to do the host sweep kind of attack or a UDP port scan, in that case also we will have action as alert. So it will basically allow, if we set the action allow, which means it will allow that TCP port scan. If we set the action is alert, which means it will generate the alert and we can able to see that alert. If we set the action block, it will block the connection, guys. And if we set the action block IP, in that case it will block what we want to block, source or destination IP address, and what is the block duration for this particular packet. So like this we can basically set. So what I can just select here, alert. Okay, I will always use the default values. Now this is the interval. If like TC port scan happen till 2 seconds and the event threshold is 1,000, means sorry 100, means if 100 times if someone is trying to do the port scan in 2 seconds, in that case it will basically consider this as a TCP port scan attack and it will just activated the zone protection profile and block the connection. Same thing with the T host sweep and UDP port scan. Now, packet-based attack protection is also provided by the zone protection profile, where in case of IP, if you have, we are having like a spoofed IP address, means it will block from the IP spoofing attack, and it will use the routing table for checking the exact interface of source IP address. Let's suppose We are having our Palo Alto firewall here. We are having this interface having IP address 10.1.1.250 bit slash 24. We are having one machine having IP 10.1.1.100, right? And now there is a one. This is outside this interface having IP 192.168.1.250, right? We are having one server. Now, if my Palo Alto firewall see one packet on this interface where source IP address is 10.1.1. maybe 100, which means my what? My Palo Alto firewall is getting the source IP one packet whose source is 10.1.100 into this interface, but in actual this source is behind this interface, right? And also generally how this TCP, how IPS attack works, because my firewalls or any L3 device, they will perform the next hop lookup on the basis of destination IP in their routing tables, right? So in their routing tables, they will do the next hop lookup, right? Okay. So when we configure this spoof IP address, in that case, they will also start looking the routing table for the source IP address to see the exact BCNC interface. So if my Palo Alto Firewall look the routing table for this IP address, that time he will found this IP address behind Ethernet 1/1 interface, but he's receiving the traffic on this in that case, that's a IP spoofing attack, so it will block that packet right away. So for IP spoofing attack, it will basically use the routing table. We have a strict IP address check. In that case, what it will, my firewall will do, it will check the IP address, right? It will check the source and destination IP address always. Means sometime whatever we are having some broadcast IP address, right? 255 in the broadcast range. We are also having IP address into the multicast range, right? We are having some IP address which are reserved for some specific purpose, maybe 127.0.0.1, right? If my firewall receives a packet from these kind of IP address, in that case, it will basically block that particular traffic. So this is also known as a stack IP address check. Now the next thing is fragmented packet. So if my firewall receives a fragmented packet, and we have selected this option, in that case, my firewall basically will draw all these particular fragmented packet. It will not allow. Okay, now we also have a few options into the IP option field, right? In IP header, we will have a some option field, right? In that option field, we can also put like a strict source routing. If we are using that option, in that case, my firewall will drop the packet if we have select this option. Loose source routing, if we have that option field on the IP header, it will basically drop that packet. If we are having timestamp value on the IP header, it will drop it. If we are having record route field on the IP header, if someone have used that field on IP header, it will drop. If our IP header having any security or stream ID or a unknown or a malformed, in all these cases, my basically what will my firewall will drop the packet. Malformed means we will have some basically some issues with respect to the headers, right? Maybe in header someone have launched have a different some kind of like abnormal combination of different flags and different TC IP header fields. That is known as like IP header malformed. Okay, if you are having all these kind of stuff, in that case, my packet will be dropped. If you want to see the IP header optional field, just go to into Google and just type here IP header options field. If you click over there, you will get the things, what are the parameters you are having into your IP header optional field, right? So we are having like security is there, loose source routing is there, timestamp is there, extended security is there, record route is there, right? So if we are using these fields in your IP header, right? Because if you see here, IP header, it looks like this one, right? And this is the optional field. If you see here, this particular field is known as an option field. If someone is using this field, and in that field what they are using, if they are basically having all these features in their optional field, in that case my firewall will drop these particular packets. Okay, if I'll go to into TCP drop, same thing. If I receive a mismatched overlapping TCP segments, means sometimes what happens in TCP header when we create a segment, so what happens, sometimes there are two segments, maybe they are having some similar kind of data. Maybe there is a two segments who is just covering the data of other segment, means they are these segments having similar data, right? And this kind of packets, if I receive, in that case my firewall drop that packet. A split handshake. Sometimes what happens, generally TCP three-way handshake will complete into three steps, right? But sometimes if it has complete into multiple steps, not in three, maybe four or five packets they've exchanged. In that case also, my firewall will drop that packet if I will use this option. TCP send with data. If I'll found in my TCP header, if I found any kind of data, in that case also my firewall drop the packet, because after TCP three-way handshake completion, client and server start exchanging the application data, right? TCP send ACK with data. If I'm my firewall see any kind of packet with the TCP send plus ACK, in TCP send plus ACK packet with data, then it will drop. We will also reject non-syn TCP packet. So what happen TCP, when client and server wants to communicate over TCP, what they will do? They will first do the TCP three-way handshake, right? And TCP three-way handshake first packet is always the SYN packet, right? If my firewall is saying it's a first packet not SYN, like maybe he's saying SYN plus ACK, or maybe he's saying push, like packet with push flag or packet with reset flag. In that scenarios, what my firewall do? It will basically reject the packets. It will only allow the TCP. So we have to global means it that setting will apply globally. Yes means now I'm just rejecting all the packet. Asymmetric path. Asymmetric path is also basically what generally we will also have to apply asymmetric path, which is drop. In asymmetric path, what happens? It's a like illegal combination of flags. It's an illegal combination of flag. If we have that kind of things in my TCP header, it will basically drop this particular packet as well here. This you will see like non-TCP SYN messages in case of asymmetric routing. When we are having asymmetric routing, where we are having different links, so in maybe one link on from one primary link our packet is going, from secondary link we are getting the reply. In that case, we will come across this TCP, we have to allow these kind of TCP non-TCP packets as well. Okay, so it depends on the situation. Like when we configure firewall in active environment, then that case we have to basically allow this thing. Like we have to run that command in TCP session. So if you want to configure that thing, what in the session I'll show you where we have to change. Okay, and also from the terminal if you want to change. So let me just run set device config setting session, press the question mark, you will get that option. TCP reject non-SYN. Reject non-SYN TCP packet for the session setup, right? TCP non-SYN, if you just configure yes, means we have just configured that feature. So this is the CLI way. I show you the GUI way as well. In GUI way, when we go to into setting, into device, then setup, there is a session tab where from there we have to change. Okay. Now, if in our TCP header we are having TCP timestamp option, if we are using this optional field or we are using TCP fast open, if they this particular field, in that case also basically if I'll be set that action, in that case my firewall will remove these particular option fields from the data. And also just remember guys, if we are having action for SYN flood attack, which is TCP SYN cookies, that time we don't use these features. Okay, otherwise what it will do, if my client and server, if they are using any kind of timestamp value or any kind of optional field like maximum segment size and all, in that case we have to basically, in that case we have to configure these things properly. Otherwise my basically what will do, my firewall remove all these optional fields. So maybe in that case data fragmentation we may required, because they will not able to they will not able to negotiate the maximum segment size. Okay, so you have to remember this. Now in ICMP drop, if we receive a ICMP packet where identification value 0 means in ICMP header we are having identification value, identification field. If that field is 0, it will drop that packet. If I'm receiving the ICMP packet with the ICMP fragmented packet, so it will drop this packet. If ICMP large packet means because ICMP packet size is very small, if we are getting a large packet more than 1024 bytes, it will drop that packet. Discard the ICMP invalid with error message. So if there is any messages who basically denotes the ICMP errors, it will drop these messages. Suppress the ICMP TTL expired error means if I am receiving any kind of ICMP messages which is for like TTL expired this message, in that case it will suppress this particular method, means it will drop these method. If suppress ICMP fragmentation needed means if there in that packet if they have mentioned like they have said the DF bit one means not DF, they if they have set the MF weight, which is more fragment one means if fragment if like in ICMP fragment is needed, right? If this kind of packet is received by my firewall, it will drop these packets. Okay. Now this is for like IPv6 and ICMP6. Now we are having protocol protection as well, where we can just write the list if we want what kind of protocol. This is that ether type, so if you want to put that include list and exclude that time this kind of thing we can create here. So this is how we will basically create our zone protection profile, and we will go to into our interfaces into zones, and let's suppose I will go into outside zone. I will just call my zone protection profile here. This is how we will basically configure the zone protection profile. But I don't want to configure it. I just wanted to explain you here, guys. Okay. Now, DOS protection profile. If you want to deal with the DOS protection profile in this case, what you have to go to into DOS protection here. To objective into DOS protection, you have to create a DOS protection profile. So in DOS protection profile, let me just give the test DOS profile. Okay, so we will have a two types of DOS protection profile: aggregate and classified. Aggregate means, let's say I'm having Palo Alto Firewall here. It is having two interfaces: Ethernet 1/1, Ethernet 1/2, right? So behind this there are few hosts, right? Behind this also there are few hosts. So the thing is, let's say I'm having here three hosts in my inside. So now all these three what they are sending the data towards outside. So if I take the method aggregate, which means it will count the session for initiated by all these three machines. This is known as aggregate, right? In classified, what happens? If we go with the classified, in that case, we can basically also write a DDoS profile on the basis of source IP. Means if we want to apply the DOS protection profile for this host only, let's say this host having IP address 10.1.100 means in that case we can also define the DOS profile for this host only. So this comes under your classified category. So I will create both the category. Okay. Synflux, same thing. UDP flood, same thing. ICMP flood, same thing. Other IP, same thing. Everything is similar, guys. Resource protection, it's a new thing. So let's suppose if we want to protect our resources means sessions, guys, because you know in Palo Alto, when Palo Alto process any data, it will create the session, right? It will allocate one session ID, and every device they have a some kind of limited session values, right? They have a some limited session count. So let me just set the session count here 3. Let me just set the here session count 300. If I'll go to into dashboard down, you will see I'm having session count per second, right? My Palo Alto supported this how many sessions per second, right? But the thing is, so if I'm creating this profile, then I have to basically, if I want to protect my sessions, then I can just write this one. So means if from one machine it will only allow the 300 sessions, it will not allow more than that session, because in basically DOS attack what happens, maybe we will receive so many packets from the same source, right? So when that session count is increases more than 300, it will stop dropping these particular packets. So we can also select that option. So I have created one DOS. Let me also create for the classified test 2. I'll just select a classified. all these things are similar. So these things are similar here as well. Sessions, I will get the 300. It's I'm just using the random number here. Okay. So I've created one test 2 for classified, test DOS for the aggregate. I'll go to into policies, into DOS protection policies here, and this is the place where I have to basically apply my DDoS object. I'll give the name like rule 1. Source, I can define my source zone. I want to apply this DOS into source zone which is outside, then source address and source user. Destination address I will define here. Destination zone is inside, traffic going towards inside or maybe towards DMZ. Options. Now here we can define the option. Deny, action is deny, allow or protect. In protect means it will basically protect you. Deny means it will allow, means it will allow, deny means it will drop the packets. We will go with that. Then we can also schedule this thing if we want to schedule. In log forwarding, we can define. In aggregate, what we can just use our aggregate DOS profile here, and we can also use the classified as well in the same rule. But in classified, we have to select this profile and we have to define our source IP address, destination IP address, or source and destination IP address both. Define source IP address only. So means it will apply for the one source only. Okay. Now I'll just go and commit. So this is how we will basically configure our zone protection profile and DOS protection profile, and that's the main difference between them. Okay. Thank you guys.